Amanda, I apologize if you already mentioned this. I stepped away for a minute, but are we ready to go on your end?
Nope, I was just getting ready to unmute to tell you we are live on YouTube and in eScribe.
Great. Can you make me a co-host too, please?
Yes, I'll do that now.
Thanks.
Everyone, I just want to let you know I have a very angry child at my end, so I'll most likely be muted and blank during this meeting.
Yeah, that's a good excuse. I like that one.
Okay, it is 1 o'clock, so we can go ahead and get started. I'll call the Land Use and Planning Committee to order. This, of course, is another virtual meeting, and if you're joining us by watching on MCAT or on the city's agenda system, you can find a link to join the live meeting on Zoom by visiting ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts. There you'll find a list of all of our meetings for the day and a link to join the live meeting. If you are in the Zoom meeting, we do have a few attendees today. If you're in the Zoom meeting and wish to provide public comment, you can use the hand raise function within Zoom, and I'll monitor that and give you an opportunity to provide comment. If you join by phone, you can provide comment by pressing *9 on your phone. And if you're wanting to provide comment in an alternate manner, you can use our City Council voicemail box, which is 406-552-6012, or by email at council@ci.missoula.mt.us. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. And our first item, as always, is roll call. And Amanda, can you call the roll?
Sure. Anderson?
Present.
Becerra?
Present.
Contos?
Here.
Harp? Absent. Hess?
Present.
Jones?
Present.
Merritt?
Present.
Ramos?
Present.
Sherrill?
Present.
Basika?
Present.
Von Lossberg? Absent. And West? Absent.
Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on items not listed elsewhere on our agenda? Seeing none, we have 2 regular agenda items, and we'll take them in the order listed. Just as a reminder, these are our post-public hearing discussion items. So we have staff for each item present, and we have the ability to review presentation if anyone desires. I'll turn it over to Alex on the first one, the annexation and zoning request for portion A of 3946 Foxden Court. And so we have Alex Item here to provide any updates and answer any questions. Alex.
Thank you very much. Would you all like to see the presentation again, or there's no update from Monday night when I gave the public hearing presentation? So I'll leave that up to see what you all would prefer.
Okay, I think unless there's any specific requests, there's no need to go through the presentation again. Would anyone like a refresher on this, or does anyone have any additional questions on this item? Julie.
Yeah, so maybe Alex, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a the overview of what these guys are trying to accomplish here.
Definitely. I'll pull up the presentation, a good slide that'll give a good visual. So as a refresher, this is, can we see this okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
This property is southeast of Lower Miller Creek Road and on the west side of Miller Creek Road. And so specifically, well, I'm going to go to the plot because it's a little easier to see. So initially this came in as a request for a boundary line relocation. The reason why we're here today is because the boundary line relocation is between two total parcels, one of which is currently located in the county, and that's the bigger parcel right here. And the second parcel is located in the city limits, which is this parcel here. And so the request for the relocation is to rectify an existing encroachment. And that is why it's only a portion of the county parcel that they want to do the boundary line relocation and then therefore annex that into the city, and it would be absorbed into with the city parcel.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Julie, do you have additional questions?
No, nothing in particular. Just trying, it's a kind of a little bit of a confusing deal, but it seems like a very minor deal. So
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, thanks. Stacy?
Hold on, let me unmute myself. Sorry about that. Alex, the question I guess that Julie was trying to ask, when you say encroachment, layman's terms, I'm guessing there's something on that the building, something on the piece of property that's in the city that is needing, that was on or on the property line or on the other property that would then, they're trying to fix the gosh, I'm doing a really bad job of trying to ask this question or explain what I think it is that they're trying to do. So basically, it's an encroachment means there's something else there. And so they're trying to fix the line so that they're not technically having their garage or shop or whatever it is on the other people's property.
That is correct. Yes. And usually it would just be a boundary line relocation. So the current city parcel, let me know if you want me to pull it up again, has an encroachment. What exactly that encroachment is, I am not fully sure. I believe the applicant might be here if they have additional information on the exact encroachment, but it is over the property line and into the county property. And so that's why they wanted to do the boundary line relocation to get that structure into the city parcel and not have an encroachment anymore. So if it was all in the city limits, it would just be a simple boundary line relocation. But since the adjacent parcel is in the county, we have to now annex this new portion and then have that absorbed into the city parcel.
Thanks so much for that. Yes, unfortunately, there is quite a bit of sort of little pockets of county in that section of Ward 5 along Lower Miller Creek. So that makes sense. Okay. You don't need a motion, do you, Mr. Chair?
No, we don't.
No, that's right. Public hearing. Pre-public.
Is there anyone from the applicant team here that would like to provide any comment on this?
I believe Ken Jenkins was going to attend.
Okay, I don't see Ken in the attendee list.
I haven't heard otherwise then.
What's that?
I haven't heard otherwise. I believe he was going to, if he's not here, I wasn't told anyone else was going to come.
Okay, sounds good. I'll watch for him throughout the meeting and we can always come back to this if he does come.
Okay.
Would anyone like to provide any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Are there any additional committee questions? Seeing none of those, I think we can move on to our next item. And thank you, Alex, for the presentation on that first item. So that'll be back to council for final consideration on May 24th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So we can move on to item 3.2, which is annexation and rezoning of the Invermere subdivision phase 3A. And this is a little bit more complicated project. So Dave, if you wouldn't mind maybe just giving us a brief recap, and then we can go into council questions and discussion.
Sure. Thank you, Jordan. I'll share my screen. Good afternoon, counselors. Can you see the screen all right?
For me, it's still loading. Can others see it?
I
Looks
just
like
see a blank screen.
I think it's just slow.
It's trying hard.
There, it's up for me now.
All right, fantastic. So this is an annexation request. It is of a subdivision that is the fourth phase of a four-phase subdivision. Originally, all four phases were granted preliminary approval back in 1999 by the Board of County Commissioners. And the phases have been subsequently, the final plats have been recorded, lots have been sold. This last phase was just approved by the county commissioners, and the final plat recorded on May 5th. So we have the property that you can see on your screen located between Miller Creek Road and Linda Vista Boulevard. I'll just run through it real quickly. You can see that the subject property in the center, it's surrounded by city limits. The subdivision includes, I'll get to the plat now and blow it up a little bit for you. It's 19 residential lots ranging in size from about 13,000 acres to about 20,000 acres. The proposed zoning is R20, so that's residential with 20,000 square foot lot size typically, or 2 units per acre. All the lots are proposed to be served and are intended to be served by public water, public sewer. City streets have been designed and dedicated to the public. However, not all of the improvements have been made yet, have been completed so far. There are still some street and sidewalk type improvements, portion of I think it's the water system as well. Yes, water system improvements and also park improvements have yet to be completed. There are improvements agreements to guarantee the completion of park-related improvements, the water system, and also streets and sidewalks and similar that have to be completed by January 25th, I believe it is, of next year. So I think that the City Public Works and Mobility Office feels good about the street and sidewalk type improvements being completed because we have financial guarantee to make sure that that happens. Also, you can see that in the kind of the lower right-hand portion of the property, there's a 37,810 square foot park area that also connects to park areas dedicated in previous phases. Overall, this is, I think it's between 3.5 and 4 acres, this park area. This has been a bit controversial in the sense that people in the surrounding Invermere subdivisions, I think, have been expecting that park improvements would have been made previously. They've not been made to date. And I have asked Gilbert Larson, hopefully he's in attendance today, I've asked him to talk about the schedule that those improvements will be made here this year. So I think that kind of sums up the proposal. It complies with the growth policy, seems to comply with with the annexation criteria that we have, and also the zoning criteria. So the recommendation from staff is for approval to annex the property with no conditions, because we think the conditions that would normally be handled, like improving water, improving streets, things like that, improving parks, are adequately addressed already. So no additional conditions are proposed.
Great, thank you, Dave. I know we have some questions about the park that were in associated with previous phases of this. I believe Ms. Anderson might have some questions, and I'll just note that we have David Selvage from Parks and Recreation here, and we have the applicant here as well, I believe. So, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I sort of flagged some of the issues I had with this project on Monday night. And I would really love it if Mr. Larson, who is here representing the applicant, could be promoted to join us, because I do have some questions for him in regards to the timeline of the park. When they submitted their final application for the park, they included a chart of a timeline in which that they were going to start with park improvements. The people who currently live in this area have been waiting for many years for this park to be done, and have grown quite frustrated that the process has drug out from the developer's standpoint as long as it has. So the timeline that was submitted to the Parks Department that they finally signed off on, which was the last piece of the puzzle that they needed to be able to file their final plat, said that they were going to start park improvements in April 1st. And it is May 19th, and thus there is nothing done on that parcel. So I'd like to know what the revised park timeline is, and from the applicant, and do they anticipate being able to get all the improvements for parks done? And then if allowed, Mr. Chair, I'd like to then move on to water mains.
Sure. So we do have Gilbert Larson in the audience here. Mr. Larson, I'm going to promote you to a meeting panelist, so you should rejoin the meeting here shortly. Okay, great. So, Mr. Larson, you should be able to participate in the meeting now. You're welcome to turn on your camera and your microphone. I'll note for the record that Brian von Lossberg has also joined us.
Okay, I'm with you now, I believe.
Great, welcome. And you can go ahead and take Stacy's question.
Okay, to answer your question, Stacy, it was actually the developer's intent to build the park last year in 2019. It has taken significantly longer than we thought it would to get park master plans approved through both the county and the city. After the park master plans were approved, we had to get plans approved. We also had to have the plat recorded and the public improvements all approved by city staff. That took literally a year longer than we thought it would. The developer and the builders have been very anxious for a long time. We've been under a lot of pressure from a lot of people to get this done, and that's what's caused our delays. The good news for you is that the hurdles have now been cleared. As Dave said, the plat was recorded 2 weeks ago today, and we also have approval of all of the infrastructure plans. We had to then work it into the contractor's schedule. They have other jobs going on, and they couldn't just drop everything to start this immediately. We do have a contractor, though, that has committed to starting on the project by June 1st. Once he has started into the project and we can get going on it, we will update that schedule and work with the contractor to see what we can do to keep the city and Parks and Recreation in particular informed as to our schedules. Our hope is to still get the park done this construction season. We recognize that there'll be some weed control and some grow in that will need to take place again next spring because of the late start. But we believe that we now have the green light to do everything we need to do to start work. Does that help to answer your question, Stacy?
Stacy, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much. It does sort of answer the question. I do think it is a bit disingenuous to put all of this on the parks at the city and the county for the delays, given the back and forth of emails that I have seen. So are you willing to submit a revised schedule? Because you're obviously not on the schedule that you initially laid out in the final parks proposal that you put together. Do you have the remaining contractors lined up to complete all the other aspects of the park plan after the grading is done?
To answer your question, and if I sounded like I was putting all of the blame onto Parks and Rec in the city, I am not. We're also a part of that process, and it's a back and forth. They expect more from us, we expect more from them, and it takes a long time to get things approved. So I didn't intend to blame anyone. It's just a long process to go through all of the hearings and the joint jurisdictions and the different things in order to get it approved. I also mentioned with a contractor just getting started, we will update the schedule. I have to work with that contractor once he's on the ground to update it and give you an accurate estimate of how long he thinks it will take him to get to these different steps and stages of it. And I will work with David Selvage of Parks and Rec as soon as we have that schedule to keep it updated and keep the city informed as to when we expect completion of the different tasks. The parks will be done. It's not a separate project. The parks will be done along with the streets and the water. It is one contractor that will oversee the entire project. So we'll work with him to get everything done. We'll use the same equipment, the same personnel to do the whole job. The park itself, it will be our first priority. It will begin by June 1st.
Thanks. Stacy?
Follow up to that. Thanks for that. I appreciate the clarification. And I mean, not being a park developer myself, I guess all the ancillary subcontractors with the irrigation plans and various things like that. I mean, I'm hoping that you guys have started to line those up. I realize that once the main contractor starts grading the property, it kind of then kicks off the various, timeline for that. But I just don't want, I'm hoping that I would like to be able to give the residents who are currently there, who are very anxious for their park, some reassurance that you guys have lined up all the additional subcontractors and do intend to complete the park this growing or park development season, because this is now the second improvements agreement that we have entered into. The previous one expired and we put a new one in place to get us through January of 2022, and just want to be able to tell the residents who are anxious for their park that all of the subcontracting is also lined up and that they look forward to a completed park by the end of this park development season.
Well,
Gilbert is.
yes.
Okay.
So to answer your question, it's the same as what I said before. The contractor is just getting started. He is aware of the subcontractors he will need on the job, including the irrigation. He will be controlling all of the work and the subcontractors. So it'll be one contract to complete the entire park. It is our intent for reasons of our own, as well as for the city, to complete that park this fall, to complete our obligations on the improvements agreements, to do all the things we need to do to free it up from our end as well. We recognize the late start. Again, I'm not going to blame anyone or point fingers. It's been a joint work that we've all tried, and I appreciate very much the work that those from Parks and Rec have contributed. We now have the green light. We're going to try to get it done this season. That's about all I can offer you, Stacy.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Chair, may I now follow up on some questions around the water main build out?
Yep, go right ahead.
All right, perfect. The reason why I want to ask some questions about the water improvements, because for anybody who is under contract for one of the lots in phase 4 to have their building permit approved by the city once this annexation is recorded, so that will be city property, and so therefore the city development department will approve building permits, the water main has to be completed. And so the other part of the constituency I hear from a lot on this is the people who are excited to build homes in this new area. So I'm curious where you are with water main contractor and putting that in place, because that was not tied to the final plat process. You actually had the green light from that in early April to start that infrastructure piece. And I'm curious, where is the water main in building in your timeline, and have you got that contractor? It sounds like it's similar contractors as the development of the park.
Yes. It is the same contractor. Will be doing all of the work, the water, the sewer, or excuse me, the water, the streets, and the park. The sewer is existing. The same contractor will be doing all of the work as one project. To answer your question further, you are correct that there are two elements that need to be in place. One is the improvements of the infrastructure plans, which included the parks, the water line, the streets. The second part that needs to be in place is the final plat, which was just recorded 2 weeks ago. The final plat recording is what literally frees up the money to build the infrastructure. That's where we first have a product we can sell and generate the money to build the improvements. So both elements are now in place. The other part that is, I hope you're understanding of, is that we're in the middle of a busy construction season. We are very fortunate that the contractor is able to work it into his schedule and begin on it very shortly. We appreciate very much his efforts to finish up another job, start on this one, and to get it underway very quickly. We are under quite a bit of pressure from those same builders to get it done. The water line is actually, it's the same contractor, but some different equipment and men. They should be able to start on the water line very shortly. And then the streets will happen after the water line is all in, tested, and compacted and in service. Then we'll start the streets, then we're done.
So follow up very quickly. So it sounds like June 1st is when this contractor is hoping to be on the site and simultaneously, doing the park as well as the water main, all under one contractor, different equipment and men. So hoping the 1st of June to be seeing movement on both of those fronts, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Would anyone from the public like to comment? We have, if you would like to comment, just use the hand raise feature within Zoom. Seeing none. Is there any additional council discussion or questions? Seeing none of those. Oh, I'm sorry, Stacy.
I don't know if this is the time to comment on this project, or would you like me to wait, Mr. Chair, till Monday night?
The public hearing is still open, so it's probably prudent to save anything real substantive until Monday.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Okay, so I don't see anyone else in the queue. So again, this is sort of our post-public hearing informational session, and so we can move on from this agenda item, and we'll have this back for final consideration on Monday, May 24th. So thank you, Mr. Larson, for coming today, and we'll see you Monday night. We did not approve the minutes, and we can go back and do those. So are there any changes to the minutes from May 12th? Seeing none, those will be approved. And we have no further business today, so we'll be adjourned. Thanks, everyone.